All right, our first speaker is Congressman David Schweikert. David? Oh, and before David gets up here, we have 103, come on up, we have 103 PCs here to vote. So that is our number for tonight. Also, I was asked, what are the hours at the Trump office? 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, right? Saturday and Sunday, anything? Okay. All right. David, microphone.
I need to get me one of those cool headsets. This is a happy meeting, and if I'd known you guys were going to be this happy, I wouldn't have brought this particular slideshow. So, look, I want to do three things. I'm going to try to do them efficiently. I want you to understand what the political class will not tell you, and the numbers are brutal. And I think the dear Lord has given me a sickness that I believe it's my mission to try to get people to understand math with 12 zeros. Second thing, I want to talk about the brutal misinformation campaigns that are coming at us. The bad guys, we'll do it at number 2, but the bad guys have found a way to use dark money and not have to disclose it, and so the very ones that preach at us are the ones sticking it to us. And the third, I want to give you a level of optimism that my wife and I, we're battling it in some really ugly neighborhoods, and we're having people talk to us and work with us that 2 years ago would have slammed their door on us. So, all right, this is important, and I want to work through. Do you see the blue area here? That's what we call discretionary spending. You become a member of Congress. You get to vote on defense, and when we say non-defense, this is the Park Service, this is the EPA, this is the FBI. That's every dime a member of Congress votes on today is borrowed. And about $400 billion of Medicare. So 74% of all spending today is a formula. 26% you get to vote on, but borrowing is close to 30%. And I'm going to say some things here tonight that are not going to make me popular, but the math is the math. United States is now number 14 on the credit stack. Remember, every second we borrow about $80,000. Every second, so click, 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 80,000, 80,000, 80,000, 80,000. Greece today can sell a 10-year bond cheaper than the United States. Who really runs your country? I'm going to tell you, it's an answer you almost never hear. The bond market. If you have a country that is burning $80,000 a second in borrowing, the world right now, governments in the world have $91 trillion in borrowed money. The United States has 33% of it. If you add up United States and China, we are consuming much of the world's capital. And when you see what really drives, well, let's actually light myself on fire. This year, now you're going to hear the talking heads say, okay, we're borrowing this. This is our interest. This is interest. It's actually higher than this, but this is interest. When you actually hear, let's see, total, yeah. So total interest we expect to come in, I think my math is a little higher than this. Remember, we borrow from the trust fund of Social Security. We borrow from all the pensions. So you'll get people say, well, Social Security doesn't add a dime to the debt. It doesn't. But the Treasury, when they have to pay it back every month, because remember, the taxes we collect from hardworking people today, the FICA taxes, don't cover the checks going out. So every month, here's all the taxes that came in from payroll. Treasury has to reach over here and borrow money to pay back the borrowed money. Interest this year will be the second biggest expense in the United States. So my passion here, I'm begging you, think of all the things that drive you insane. And how often does this number one in your head? Social Security is our number one spend. It'll come in at $1,480 billion. Interest, that slide, is going to come in somewhere about 1.12. Medicare's third. Defense is now number 4. So the one thing that's really in the Constitution is now our number 4 spend. When you talk to a liberal, and how often they say, well, if you just cut defense and raise taxes, we would be fine. None of that's true. It's not even close. You remember this slide here? Sorry. I can get rid of every dime of defense, every dime of government, and you still have to borrow about $400 billion. It's math, and the math will always win. And today, in this year, we expect about 45% of every income tax dollar just to cover interest. So think of that. About half the income taxes you're paying are just paying the interest of this government. I'm not going to make you go through that. I'm not going to make you go through that. Because I want to go through... I'm not going to make you do that. This is the slide I get booed at when I do this. I'm insane. Ask my wife. She thinks I'm out of my mind for doing this. But about every month, I go speak down at the university. And you have the arrogant... And those are the professors. The kids are actually okay. The kids will actually listen. 100% of U.S. debt from today through the next 30 years is interest, healthcare costs, almost all Medicare, and if in 9 years we backfill Social Security. The rest of the budget is calculated to grow. I know people didn't read it, but a year ago when we did the debt ceiling was the single biggest cut in spending and discretionary in modern history, and it's because of that cut that over the next couple decades, the discretionary side grows slower than the tax receipts. Our crisis is something very simple. It's healthcare costs. But you have a government that actually makes things illegal that could crash your price of healthcare. Remember, Obamacare was a financing bill. Obamacare was who got subsidized and who had to pay. Okay? The Republican alternative was a financing bill. Medicare for All is a financing bill. Damn it. Stop trying to play the shell game of you subsidize me and I'll pay over here. Crash the price of health care. And look, if any of you really geek out, have any of you ever watched one of my videos on YouTube? Oh, you realize you're my entire... No, the crazy thing, I mean, Linda and I used to talk about this. I will do these videos, sometimes they're an hour long. So you have some idiot acting like a statistician, because that's what I really wanted to be. And I used to get like 12 views. The one I did 3 weeks ago now is at 1.4 million. Americans are tired of being spoken to like children. They want people to stop shining shiny objects and say, shiny object, give me money. Shiny object, give me money. They would like someone to treat them like adults. And I don't know how to get our candidates, my brothers and sisters, to actually tell the truth. You could crash the price of health care. You have a society that's dying. In 15 years, the United States has more deaths than births. This will be the 5th year in a row where prime-age males are dying younger. I have hour-long videos on how you could crash the price. But it's always about the money. Remember our family rule, money, power, vanity, but most of the time it's about the money. You would be shocked the truth of what really goes on. How many of you get those text messages all day? Send me money. You do realize 80% of that actually goes to the person that sent you the text message, the text messaging firm. The candidate gets almost none of it. It's about the money. The scam has to come to an end. And well, I'm not going to make you go through that. But one of the things, and I made some national news during the debate, if you want to call that, when Biden wasn't drooling on himself. Excuse me, sorry, I retract that. That was unfair to people who drool. He got asked the question, what are you going to do on Social Security? If you would just tax rich people 1% more, you remember this? 1% more, we would be fine. And instantly, it turns out, because I'm number 4 in Ways and Means, and I'm willing to say things that because I'm really good at math. I'm not good at a lot of things in life. Ask my wife. But I'm good at math. If you took every rich person and charged them 12.4%, it only covers 38% of the shortfall. President Biden's saying, so I had to actually, on this slide, 1% was so small you could barely see it, so I made it 2%. And I showed this slide actually to a group that was mostly Democrats, and they booed me. And then I made the point, unless you grow up and help me save Social Security, you double senior poverty in 9 years. The immorality. You already have a crisis where baby boomers are ending up homeless because of Biden inflation. They can't afford their homes. They're ending up on the streets. And in 9 years, we double poverty of seniors. And the clown show that's in the White House right now will not tell you the truth. And when we work on it, they knife us. Now, last thing on the economic slides. I know we're all a fairly young crowd, but apparently over the last 75 years, we've had times where we've had very high tax rates. And guess what happens when we have very high tax rates? Go back to 80, we get about 17% of the economy in taxes. We've had times where we have very low tax rates. Guess what happens? We get about 17% of the economy. The secret is grow. Growth is moral. It's also absolutely critical. You crash the price of healthcare and you grow. Because our spending, we take in about 17% of the economy in taxes, but we spend about 24% of it. And this becomes the structural deficit. So 2 things left, and then we'll see how I'm doing time-wise if I can even speak faster. Every Democrat tax, when you adjust them, is about 1.5% of GDP in new revenues, new receipts, okay? The cuts I want to make, I can get you about 1% of GDP. It's about $300 billion. It's $300 billion. It's a lot of money. So that adds up to what, 2.5%? We're borrowing almost 7% of the entire U.S. economy this year. The political class are lying because they're terrified to tell people this because you get unelected. We just happen to have something unique. You do realize we're in one of the best educated, the most entrepreneurial districts in America. You may not like the numbers, but you're smart enough. If you're in this room, if you were able to live in this community, you're smart enough to understand it makes sense. I'm not going to make you go through those. Second thing I want to do, the left has come up with a scam. And there's a couple of them now popping up here. How many of you realize half the online newspapers in America are actually fake? No, I mean completely fake. Like my wife's from rural Kansas. There was a newspaper there that went out of business 25 years ago. It's now still publishing. Yeah, now that one's a group of Russians. But one of the crazy things going on right now is China hates President Trump. They are starting to pump out crazy, where Russia seems to like it's just be prepared. So one of the scams that's going on, there's now a couple online newspapers that are popping up in our community. They're fake. And they're controlled by hard leftist groups that are doing it as a way to get around campaign financing. Because if I put something on cable television or drop something off, or what you're talking about, which we're actually helping pay for, the golden tickets, we got to disclose. I contributed. If I do it as a fake newspaper, I can take dark money, corporate money, those things, and they don't have to disclose it. And we on our side don't do this. The left does. Third thing, and I know I'm probably over time. Did anyone see this. I know this sounds crazy. I know it's a weird fixation. You know the boundaries of this congressional district. We go Carefree, Cave Creek, Fountain Hills, Town of Paradise Valley. We even have part of Las Sendas out in East Mesa. We also go down to Van Buren. So if you're at the intersection of, Bethany Home and 16th Avenue, you're still well into this district. When they gave us redistricting, they gave us some of the bluest areas in the Southwest. And what's amazing is these are people living in $1 million, $2 million, irrigated lawns, and they vote like socialists. I actually do better in Sunny Slope than I do in the rich neighborhoods to the south. So our fixation was the Democrats are arrogant. We're sort of like in a semi-house of worship. So, but, did I mention, I don't drink alcohol, but stunning amounts of coffee. I really need to take up alcohol. And you're doing Handlebar J's? Yeah. Do you know Handlebar J's is what drove a bunch of my family to AA? So just be prepared for that. And if any of you know that family, you're going to know that's actually true. So we came up with a strategy, because last cycle, remember, they gave us our districts in March. We woke up one day and all of a sudden I'm in a 50-50 district, and the Democrats, they just loaded for bear, and they beat the crap out of us. And think about what happened to Nancy in this district and others. 440,000 votes, and we won by 3,000 last time. They've spent $24 million trying to beat me the last 2 election cycles. So I'm becoming their most expensive loss, which I'm happy about, because I'd rather have him lose money. Now, I still want to win. But you see the dots? The dots I was just showing you. The reason we're doing that is we're not seceding an inch to the left. We are going to battle them in the very neighborhoods. So we're out there walking. We're out there putting up yard signs. We're out there doing neighborhood coffees. You get some very interesting people in Central Phoenix that show up to your neighborhood coffee when you do it in someone's driveway. I got a nice homeless guy's vote the other day. But the reason I fixate on this is I have neighbors over there that I'm their first Republican in 20, 25 years, going back to John Shattuck. I think he was the last one. They haven't had a city councilman, they haven't had a supervisor. And I had the little old lady come up, poke me the other day, go, "You're my first Republican at a door. Nice to meet you." And then she closed the door, so I'm marking her as undecided. And true. Help us. Yard signs don't belong on streets. They belong in someone's yard, because you're a good guy. Well, you are a good guy. We've known each other a long time. But the fact of the matter is, your neighbor is going to be someone like you. They're going to drive a similar car. They're going to have a similar wife. They're going to do this. They look over and say, "Oh, he knows something." We can show you statistically the signs in yards make a difference, and it's one of the things. So how many of you saw the Shaw signs sort of pop up overnight? I want you to be sanguine about that. We have more signs than they do. We are working our heart out, but we did it over months. They did it over 4 days. This district, Alexas are an Alexas. That's a word. 4 swung away from us last cycle. We're dragging it back, and we're beating them in just trying to hold the math in that Central Phoenix area. What changed? Homelessness, fentanyl, inflation. Last sentence. Anyone meet anyone who's just, forgive my language, a little pissed off right now? If you're not, you don't understand what's happened. If you live in this community and don't make about 27% more today than the day Joe Biden took office, you are poor. Have you met the people that are just stressed out of their mind? And they're not completely sure why they're stressed out of their mind. They're having trouble surviving. Be empathetic. Understand there's people out there who are really getting crushed. But all of a sudden, those people who are stressed out of their mind, if you come to their house and treat them with sort of love and respect and talk about their prosperity, they're willing to vote for us. Let's go win. Thank you.
Do you have time for Q&A? Is that all of it?
Do one.
All right, one or two questions. Can you?
Yes, ma'am. Here, scream and I'll repeat it.
I have a question about, I really do like your videos, and in fact, it's why I voted for you and had your yard sign in my yard in past elections. But Ukraine was funded with borrowed money. You voted for that. You voted to raise the debt ceiling when Eli Crane and Andy Biggs didn't. Can you please explain how what you say and what you do, how do you make those match?
So, did Jim Jordan vote for the debt ceiling? Back to, what was your name? Amy, did Jim Jordan vote for the debt ceiling? No, I want to walk through. Most of the conservatives actually voted for it. It had the biggest cut in spending in modern history. Look, Andy Biggs is one of my oldest friends. I've known him since I was a young man. But the fact of the matter is, if the bond market owns you and you want to screw with them, every point of interest is $80 billion, or $800 million. You want to drive up interest rates? Do you still want to keep your commitments? You had a chance. We negotiated a deal where we had over $1 trillion of spending cuts. But it was too hard to get on television and explain to people what it means. On Ukraine, I'm sorry, I believe Ukraine's been one of the greatest deals in modern history. You've taken out 65% of Russian heavy armor. The fact of the matter is, future contributions to NATO, I believe we can cut. But you have commitments to NATO that are going to be in the trillions over the next 10 years. The math says now you could cut those commitments by almost a third in spending because you've taken your primary threat in the area and degraded them. From a dollar-cent standpoint, it's been an incredible bargain. And there's entire academic papers. If you're someone that wants to really read the actual math, not read what's coming in from RT Today, the math is amazing. I stand behind it. So, thank you. And also, can I give you one last thing? Anyone has a phone? Because some people have questions. Take my cell number. 602-619-3330. 602-619-3330. I have some amazingly good papers that I believe defend the rationality of what I walk through and not the theater. Call me, text me, and I will walk you through them. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.